Damn you, old man! Wait.
Old ass man.
Shut up, old man. You smell like fart.
No!
Old man.
He's so old, he got a podcast on cassette.
Fuck, you're old.
Damn it, Wade!
And welcome to the Old Man Wade Show. I am your host, Old Man Wade. And as I like to say, I have a very, very special guest. First off, I'd like to introduce my lovely wife.
Hey.
Wow. Every time, more and more enthusiasm.
Shut up.
And also with me, I have a longtime friend. I call her the Hustler because that's what she did on all the comic books that I ended up buying. We have Shananagins.
Hello.
Again, with all the enthusiasm. So how you doing?
Fantastic.
Done working for the week, or you got more stuff to do tomorrow?
Well, I actually am taking the next 2 days off because I have a friend coming into town, so this is actually the end of my week, which never happens because I work retail, so I'm pumped.
Yeah, I always wonder how that worked out because I remember like retail is crazy, so it's not like the normal 9 to 5, and you can't. And you have to have your best people working the weekends because that's when actually people shop.
Exactly. So generally it's midweek. So
So you got the Monday, Tuesday off, and then Wednesday through Sunday.
if I'm lucky, sometimes it's Wednesday.
I forgot you're like a boss, so you got to go in there.
Uh-huh.
So you know what? Let's get right into this. A couple of weeks ago on the show, we talked. We had an episode called The Ladies Lounge, and we talked about. Actually, no, it wasn't the Ladies Lounge. It was me and a few other people. We started talking about polyamory, polygamy, open relationships, and quote unquote normal relationships, and it got into a whole thing about how this isn't like 1950 anymore, and so certain things just don't necessarily work. Some people like and enjoy other things, and it struck a real good conversation about just things people don't know. Like people hear polygamy and automatically think that this is just something that doesn't work because it's a crazy religion. People hear polyamory, and because it's kind of a new thing, they think it's quote unquote disgusting, or how do people make this work? And,
Polyamory isn't new.
huh?
Polyamory, I know it's new to people. Like
But
people
it's
are
not a
now
new
noticing
thing.
that polyamory is a thing, but it is not new.
It's not. It's, yeah.
I'm ignorant. I'm 1,000 years old, and these are things I just don't know.
Polyamory's been like since the time of Jesus.
If you want to get down to it, there's a really fantastic book called Sex at Dawn, which chronicles how closely humans are more related to bonobos instead of chimpanzees, and how it wasn't until industrialization that humans actually started being monogamous. We were all in hunter-gatherer type societies where everything was shared. So if you were to hoard something, that was very looked down upon, everything. So you would never have just a single family dynamic. It was all group dynamics. It was all a village taking care. So there wasn't this, I only had one wife. It was, the children were everyone's children. Everyone looked out for them. If you found somebody attractive, you would go have to spend time with that person, but there was no jealousy that we know it today. And when industrialization happened, where you have, okay, this is my house, this is my plot of land, this is my wife, this is my child, that's when that whole idea of monogamy and this is mine really kind of came into play, and that's where we get the current strain of it that we have now. So honestly, I'm very true I feel true to the belief that monogamy is not actually a natural human instinct, and that we are trying to force ourselves into this box, and that's why you get so much cheating. It's why you get the unfaithfulness, because there's those honest conversations aren't happening, and I just don't think that you can't expect one person to fulfill every single desire that you have, and if you're not open with the things that you want, you are more apt to stray because you aren't getting fulfilled with the person that you are with. It doesn't mean that you love that person any less, but it means that they aren't giving you all of the things that you need. So the idea of monogamy and what we've come to learn as the norm is actually going against our human instinct. But if you haven't, you should pick up Sex and Dogs. It's fantastic.
So okay, I just want to point something out because a lot of people say they feel a certain way about things and they don't actually do any research on it. So this is something this is something you felt for a long time. This isn't something like some people have this new age like way of thinking.
No, and I think I guess we should start this out by saying that I'm a bisexual cis female. So I was born female. I identify as female. I have never been physically attracted to men automatically. So that's when I learned that I was demisexual towards men. Because if you don't know the term demisexuality, it's where there is a emotional connection which will foster a sexual attraction. So there has to be some sort of emotional connection for me to even be slightly interested. So there has never been in my life that I've ever saw a man, whether it be a actor on television or, I've never looked at a person. I can appreciate the male form and say, oh, that person's beautiful, but I would never want to see them naked. Like, I don't have any interest in that. That doesn't attract me, but I'm married to a man.
I was about to say, are you married to a man?
Yeah, so I am married to a man, and I still, and again, there's that emotional connection, which is, if we hadn't have connected in the way that we did, I never would have. And I knew him for years as a friend, and there was never any sexual chemistry there. I just don't have that in me. I am naturally attracted to women. I always have been. I always will be. Which is how I learned about demisexuality, because it was interesting, the relationships that I ended up having with men. But no matter what, I just don't think that, again, it's that the monogamy thing. I had a lot of polyamorous friends through my young adult life, and a lot of people who got into relationships and always seemed there's always something wrong. There was always something negative. And I've had the pleasure of having lots of positive polyamorous relationships around me to learn from, and how there are so many different ways to have open relationships, that there's always that stigma of if it's open, then as a friend of yours said, it's like having your cake, your cake and eating it too. You know what I mean? They don't, like, I have an open relationship with my husband, but it's definitely different than what people would assume it to be. So I think there's this stigma when you say open relationship versus when you say polyamorous, because when you're in a polyamorous relationship, it is multiple relationships, so you are having emotional connections with people, because there are ways you could have a relationship with somebody who's an asexual, right? Okay, so are you familiar with asexuality?
Yes.
Okay, so there is asexual and there's aromantic. So you could be an asexual person but still like romance. You can be aromantic and not like romance at all. Like, you might just like sex and not actually be romantic at all. So you can be an asexual person and have love for somebody and want to have a romantic relationship with somebody, meaning there's you might want to hug, you like hugging or you like kissing, but you don't want to actually have sex with the person. They wouldn't want their significant other who does enjoy sex to not be able to have that pleasure. So if I've seen polyamorous relationships where one of the people in the relationship is asexual. There's no sex that happens between these two people, but they're still absolutely in love with each other. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're having these, with polyamory, it's multiple relationships. No matter what form that takes, you could have 3 people, 6 people. Your partner could have multiple boyfriends, whatever. For me, I can't say that me and my husband have a polyamorous relationship, because we don't, because he's still my number one, my partner and everything. Our relationship comes first. So when we do things with other people, it's not a romantic, and it is not. It's not that there isn't any emotion involved, but it is not like we want to start dating this person. It's more of a sexual thing versus which is where the open relationships comes in. Does that make sense?
Yes,
That makes complete and utter sense.
Okay.
So would you and your husband ever have a polyamorous relationship, you think, or just an open marriage?
we talked about it, and it's really interesting because originally when we got together, I've talked to him. I was very open with him about things that I like and things that, my attractions, and I'm not a shy person, and I definitely believe in communication. I think it's the most important part of any relationship is to communicate and be open about what you like and what you desire. And so originally, we both said, okay, it's just going to be just us. We're not going to do anything with anybody else. And it's wonderful how our relationship has evolved into what it is. And I think that we've talked, if we've found that person that, we connected to on that level, or I've connected to, or he connected to, we would be open to having that discussion. But it would have to happen, and the way things happen, it's got to happen organically. You don't go out looking for it, because I'm very happy in the relationship that I'm in and what we do. But if somebody were to come along that was just, that I had those deep feelings for, that you really start to feel those love feelings for, then that would be another conversation that we would have. And neither of us are, I think, adverse to that if it fits us. As long as like I said, he's my primary. So as long as our relationship comes first, everything else can be negotiated.
Okay.
So it's so basically it all comes down to, and this is something I've noticed is
Can
you hear me?
Yeah, you cut out. You blurred for a second. Sorry.
I'll edit that. And if I don't, people will laugh. But from what I've deciphered is what I've noticed with a lot of things is like with everyone who wants to be in a serious relationship of any sort, it all comes down to like actual communication.
Yes, no matter what. I am a member of a lot of different communities, and the most important thing in everyone is that there's communication. And the biggest breakdown of most relationships is that there isn't communication. So I look at people now, and think about how many different ways, the reasons that people get married, right? He'll stay with me if we get married, if I put a ring on it. He won't cheat on me if we put a ring on it. There's the feeling of, I just don't want to be alone. If you're so insecure and you don't want to be alone, and this person's giving you attention, even if it's not perfect, you'll stay with them rather than be alone. Do you know, there's all these wrong reasons that people stay and that people end up getting into marriages. And if there was open communication from the get-go, I don't think that there would be nearly as much. The divorce rate wouldn't be what it is in this country, Okay, so are you guys familiar with Dan Savage?
Dan Savage.
Dan Savage. Yes, he's a gay columnist. He started the It Gets Better campaign. Okay, on like YouTube for like child, young suicide. He has a podcast. There's like an app for his column, but he's an advice columnist originally, I think. He's got some doctorates as well. But there is a video where he mentions that, there's this stigma that gays have better sex than straight people do. Okay?
What?
And immediately, and that is the immediate reaction, okay? You say gay people have better sex than straight people do, and that's the immediate reaction. Like,
no, I mean, like, what? Like, as in, like,
okay.
why? It'd be like being like...
Just wait. Listen, okay. So here's, I know, see, that's it. I love this reaction because here's where we talk about, okay? So when two guys meet up at a bar, right, okay? And say they start kissing, they start hooking up, even not, you go make those eyes, right? So it doesn't even matter if it's like a quick hookup in the woods, okay? Before anything happens, there's a conversation that happens. I like to be on top, or I like to be on bottom. I only want oral. I don't like penetration. Whatever it is, there's a conversation that happens. Still with women, it happens as well. Think about it like this. Say you go pick up a guy at a bar, okay? And especially you, because you're the one who said, but had that reaction. So say you go pick up a guy at a bar, okay? And you take him home, you guys start hooking up, you guys kiss a little, things are going good, you're definitely going to go hook up. You take him home, and you unlock the door, and you're about to walk in the door, and you turn around and say, oh, just so you know, I don't like penetration. He's going to be like, what? Excuse me? Because when a man and a woman get together, there's
there
an automatic assumption penis goes in the vagina. That's it, right? That's doesn't matter. Foreplay is literally foreplay so that penis can go in the vagina, right? In straight relationships, that is your go-to. Oral sex is just to get to that destination. But there are so many different ways that you can have sex and gays experience all of those ways. So when he says gays have better sex than straight people do, it's just because we have more communication than straight couples do. There are couples who've been together for years and they don't even know what kind of porn their partner watches. They don't know what fantasies their partner has because they don't have those conversations.
Well, I try my best to clear my history before she gets home.
The sad part is I actually do know what kind of porn you watch.
Yeah, she does.
No, that's why is that sad though? But that's a good thing because that means that you guys have a relationship that you're talking about these things. But think about how many relationships where they just don't want to know, or they pretend their partner doesn't like porn, or they like that shouldn't be a stigma. That shouldn't be something that you don't know. You want to have those conversations. You want to know what your partner likes. And the reason people stray is because they're so ashamed of what they like because they know their partner is not going to like it, or they don't feel comfortable talking about those things. You cannot feel comfortable going to your partner and telling them what you like and what makes you feel good. You shouldn't be in this relationship. That is not something you should be doing. Does that and there is this assumption. We see these all movie and television tell you, there's this introductory butterfly period, and then this is going to happen, and there's this A, B, C, D situation that happens. Every sex scene is like the most typical, okay, we make out a little bit, maybe if you're lucky, somebody's going to get some head, then the guy gets off, and the male's orgasm is when the sex is over. When you ask somebody on the street, when is sex over? It's when the man orgasms. Why is that when the sex is over? How many people, you could ask that. There actually was a girl who did this, or she went around New York and said, when was the last time you had sex? And she asked two other questions. When was it over? And they were like, when I got off, and then, or I don't know, when the guy comes, and then did she get off? And now, I think so, maybe, I don't know, I didn't know. Why is that even?
That shouldn't be possible. So I've had this discussion before too. I don't understand how women fake orgasms with men. How does a man not know that the woman that he's with didn't have an orgasm? There's things that happen physically.
He doesn't care.
That's what I mean. They don't have that.
When they're in that sexual, their release is the most important. We are literally taught that the man's release is the most important. Every video, every porn, everything shows that once the guy gets off, that's it. That's when it stops. That should not be the norm, but that is literally what we are force-fed from Disney on. This is what we're told. So when you talk about gays and sex, it is that there is more communication, that there is more the intimacy level is raised faster than it is in a straight relationship, and that is why they say the sex is better. Because you guys both know you're in a committed relationship. You know that the sex gets better the more you know them. It's
true.
Then over casual hookups, the sex is better than when it's casual, right?
Yeah.
So the same thing's true in a BDSM relationship as well, because there is clear negotiation. There is clear specifics of what you want to happen before anything actually happens. There is a long conversation that happens so that everybody gets what they want before they go into that situation. So the relationships end up being more intense and deeper, and sometimes they're really intense and they fizzle out, but the attraction and that solidifying of those two people and that communication happens at a deeper level. Therefore, that sex feels so much more intense, and that sex feels so much better than it does when you're in just a casual hookup or a regular, typical, straight relationship. That's what he's saying. So if you can see the video, you can check it out. But that was basically his breakdown. And when he said that, I was just like, a light bulb went off and was like, that makes so much sense, because there's much more communication that happens in gay relationships, gay hookups even, than doing straight ones. And it's because there's that assumption that slot A goes into slot B, and then that's what's going to happen, and maybe you're lucky if you can get an orgasm out of it, and then if you demand your orgasm, you're needy, or you're a slut, or you're, XYZ, all the other expletives that they call women who want to actually enjoy themselves when they're in bed.
I mean, I guess it's on who you choose, I guess. Like, see, I'm a very vocal person myself. And, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to fake it. I will tell you, no, I'm not there yet. What are you doing? What's happening? How are you going to fix this?
What's the quote from Chasing Amy? It was the best way the guy described it. I like my sex like I like CNN. Constant updates. Like let me know, and like that's what makes. And but again, back to your point about communication. That's what makes, well, not even just sex. That's what makes things in general great. So if this is something that you want both people to experience, why do you think that is? Why do you think that there is no communication? Why are people so ashamed of saying, like, I like a finger on my butt, or hey, can you slap me in the face? Can you tie me up? Why do you think people are like that? Why don't you think it's considered like? Why are they ashamed to have these conversations?
Because sex in our culture is supposed to be shamed anyway, and women are taught like you and I are different, are kind of a different breed of woman because we're taught from a very young age that we're supposed to be seen and not heard, and that we're supposed to be quiet, and that we're supposed to be demure, and we're not supposed to express our wants and desires. And then when we do, we're called sluts, and we're called promiscuous, and we're called, every other thing. I mean, look at the Scarlet Letter, and you know what I mean? Like, there's all these different ways that we are told that what we want and are expressing our bodies is bad. I mean, genital mutilation exists, the fact that we have a center and bundle of nerves that are more than any other place in the entire body that is only there to give women pleasure, and that is so terrifying to a patriarchal society that they literally will mutilate women to keep that from happening, right? So us being told that we are not supposed to experience that from a young age, and then men are continually taught that they are their right, their personhood is more important, and their wants and needs and desires is more important. And then when they are promiscuous, they get pats on the back and taught about how cool they are and how much better they are. So when you're continually force-fed, even in the smallest little microaggression type ways, this your whole life, it's no wonder our society is the way it is.
You know what? It's actually, not to get off the subject, but you brought up a good point when you talked about men being taught that, like, it's almost like the aggression of it, or the way it's supposed to be. It brings me to something we talked about, the Me Too movement. And how, like, you have these guys who feel like it's their right to get it. You know what I mean? Well, again, everyone should know, but explain the Me Too movement for the like listeners who may not know what it is or have a misconception of what it is.
Me Too is every woman out there who has experienced in some way of aggression that a man is entitled to their personhood. I have a few Me Too's, but one that I think is pivotal to share is I had a conversation with a really close friend of mine, and we were talking about another friend of ours. And I was in my early 20s, and real early, and we were talking about this other person, and this other person had said that they were raped. And I was like, when? And she said, well, she had sex with her boyfriend when she didn't want to. And I callously said in my 20s, and I still feel so bad about this to this day, I said, the amount of times I had sex when I didn't want to, I didn't think it was rape. And I really, truly believed that. And that is so sad, and that is so disheartening. And there was this notion that I've been taught my whole life that if you were with somebody, I owed them that part of my body. Like, I was the girlfriend, that's what I was supposed to do. And that is so wrong, and on so many levels, it's so messed up. But I perpetuated that because I said that. That came out of my mouth, and I have to own that. Yes, I really, truly believed it at the time, and I'm so grateful that I have turned and educated myself and become the person I am today. But the fact that happened, and that I said that, and that I meant that, just shows how much we as women continue to perpetuate that, and how men feel that they are entitled to that. Does that make sense? So it goes from ranges when it comes from Me Too, from straight up horrid assaults, to the microaggression of every single time you get on a train and somebody catcalls you or feels like they can touch you in some way, to your boss making inappropriate comments to you, I got my district general manager of Hard Rock Cafe in 2001 slapped me in the ass on my way to a table while I had 5 plates in my hand. And it was just an accepted thing. And the girls had to wear polyester dresses and the men could wear pants, and no one was allowed to wear, no woman was allowed to wear pants, and no man was allowed to wear a dress. And we actually had a trans employee who had lived her life as a woman for the past 10 years, and there's absolutely no way you would have ever known. And he flat out told her, I won't have a dick in a dress, specifically. And that's why she wasn't allowed to serve, and he put her up in the retail shop. That is an actual thing that happened. So it goes from actual physical assault to the constant barrage of men who just feel that they are entitled to a woman's personhood, that they don't feel that they are, it is their right to say these things, to approach you in this way, to get violent when you deny them. So I can't tell you, gosh, Boston, living in Boston, as soon as I would not respond to a cat call, I was a bitch, I was a nappy-headed hoe, I was a slut,
You're ugly anyway.
you ugly anyway, yeah, you ugly anyway, you whatever. And they would pick on anything, but they were just hollering at you like 2 minutes prior. So I think it goes into levels, and I think the Aziz Ansari thing that's happening right now, I think is I know that awful news reporter said that stuff on television, and damned it and said it was awful for the Me Too movement and that it washes it down. But I just think that for you to tell any woman that her experience and what she's feeling is wrong, that's what's wrong. That's what you're. Every woman is entitled to that. Every woman feels those things. I have a stalker at my place of business now. I've had a stalker for 7 years. I have a protective order from the state because this creep followed me, started shopping at my store and followed me I moved stores and he followed me to the other store. And when he violated the protective order another time and I was filing yet another police report, they just left me with a stack of police reports, and I just fill out an incident report and have it ready for them when they show up because he violates it so often. But one time the cop showed up to get my report, and he literally looks me in the eye and said, so what is it? What did you do? And I said, excuse me? And he said, like, did you date the guy or something? I said, no, he's homeless and panhandles outside. Like, you think I dated this guy? And he's like, well, what did you do to, like, have him? What is it about you that he wants so bad? I was like, so there was this assumption that I had to have done something to warrant this negative attention. This crazy, mentally unstable person who literally got locked up into the Richmond Mental Health Facility, and the day he got his privileges back, he called my store and asked for a game that I've sold him no less than 20 times because he is not right in the head. I somehow asked for this. I somehow wanted this to happen. When I have to look over my shoulder every time I walk out of the building, that's somehow my fault. And it's down from that level. This is a police officer. This is somebody who's made to serve and protect. And our system is so flawed, and it is reactionary instead of protective. It is only so if I can tell him that he's violated this protective order. I can't tell you how many times, but until he actually assaults me in the parking lot and I wind up dead, that's when the police will step in and actually do something. So it's as simple as things like that. This police officer looked me dead in the eye and asked me what I had done to deserve the unwanted attentions of a freaking psycho.
So I have a question, kind of along the lines with the Aziz Ansari thing. I read it today. I actually hadn't read it before because of all the controversy and everything. I wanted to see when it boiled over and came down some what side of whatever was. He hasn't said anything, which I'm kind of like, okay, why?
He has now. He said that in response to when she messaged him after the incident, he said that he was apologized that he didn't think he was going with what she said, which doesn't make sense because she did say no multiple times. But he said that he is sorry that she felt that way, that he didn't take it the way that she did, basically, is what his response was.
To her text message, yeah, that he, like,
Yes.
apologized
Yes.
for whatever. So my thing is, like, devil's advocate wise, my question is what about, like you had said, you felt obligated in your relationship with the boyfriend that you had to have sex with him, even though you didn't want to, and you felt like that was a Me Too kind of moment. But did he know that you didn't want to have sex at that time? And was it? Oh, come on, like I'm tired, I'm whatever, and then just roll over and do it? Or do you really feel like he violated you? It's still a violation. I get it. I guess I'm asking the piece of,
can I bring up what you literally just said right there? Okay, so you said, oh, I'm not really in the mood, I don't really want to, right? Okay. When you have to whittle a no into a fine or okay, that's assault. Do you see what I'm, like, there are so many men who think that is a conquering thing. When a girl says no, and you just got to whittle her down until she says yes. You got to whittle her down until she says fine. That's not okay. You shouldn't have to whittle somebody down. They should be a very active, willing participant in what is about to happen. You shouldn't have to get somebody to coerce them. It shouldn't have to be a coercion. You shouldn't have to coerce somebody to have sex with you. That should never be part of the equation. And yes, they knew I did not want to.
okay. No, I mean, I'm not asking. I'm literally just asking in the sense of, like, when, like you said, guys are raised to do whatever, and you women are raised to submit. So if you're taught your whole life that if you say, oh, come on, honey, and she says, okay, fine, do you think that's okay then? So when does the teaching piece come in for both, for men and women, where women get the voice and say, they realize that they need to say,
right,
no,
so
and not submit and give in, because then you're just teaching this behavior over and over again. So this guy thinks it's okay to say, oh, come on, baby. I know you're tired, but do you know what I mean? Like,
right,
like,
I know you're tired, but, so, as a woman, you understand this. When you're the person that's being entered, you're the person being entered.
oh yeah, no, I'll tell him straight up, like, no.
Right, there is a different, but there's a different feeling for you than it is for a man. Okay?
Yes.
Because the person, you're being entered. Try and put don't say anything to a woman that you wouldn't want a man saying to you in prison. Right?
Didn't The Rock? Yeah, that's essentially exactly
right,
that.
Exactly.
Or like, would you say that to The Rock? Remember that?
Yeah, would you say that to The Rock?
Okay, so my thing is that women will find themselves, like, what I felt when I read that was, how much of yourself are you willing to give so that you don't get worse, right? Okay.
Wait! Stop! What?
How much are you willing to give? So, like, in a
No,
rape,
I get it. It's just I get it. It's just
in a rape situation, you'll submit sometimes because you have no
She was willing
choice.
to give her mouth or her hands so that she possibly didn't have a violent situation. No matter what, I cannot communicate this so much. Every single time a woman is physical with a partner, okay, majorly, especially if it's a male and female, they outweigh her, they can overpower her, okay? Every time it's a trust issue. Every single time she's giving her trust in you that you are not going to hurt her. So now if you're in a situation where you're being coerced, right, because you already said, no, you're not interested, and he is continuing to pester you and continuing to whittle you down, it becomes a, how much of myself am I willing to give so that something worse doesn't happen? And that's where you get the unwanted hand job and the reluctant blow job. And so people dogging her for actually going down on him, it could, in her head, it could have been so much worse. And you can't tell a woman what she's, one, willing to do to get herself out of that situation, and two, how she's going to react when she's in it, because my instinct when I'm mad is to fight, but that's not everyone's. A lot of times women get internalized and they get scared and they shut down. And that's where you have the woman just laying there and letting it happen because they'd rather it happen this way than violently while they're being held down and choked while he's doing it to her. Does that make, like...
No, I agree with you.
I get
100%.
it. It was just my mind couldn't go there because it's deplorable that that's the case. Like, you know what I mean? And this was something I said to someone recently, because I was listening to the show, and this woman said, why didn't she just leave? And I'm like, okay, your reaction may be to leave, but that doesn't necessarily mean that person B, not just woman B, that doesn't mean person B has that internal fortitude to just get up and walk. Like, it's like, not everyone has fight when it's fight or flight. Some people don't even have either one of them, so they freeze. Like,
it's awesome. They just can't handle, and they just shut down and they internalize and they just go with whatever it is, so that that's the best possible negative income. Does that?
No, it makes total, like, don't get me wrong. I didn't mean it in that sense. I don't want it to be taken as like I'm one of them women defending like a sexual. I've sat through like rape interviews with women before. It's one of the hardest things that you could possibly ever have to do because you can't be emotional either. You just have to take it. And as another woman, like, obviously you do get emotional about it. Like, you can't help it. But I feel like two women need to there's got to be a way for women to have a voice too, because like you said, I feel like a lot of women I don't want to say it that way because it's coming off like wrong. If you are with a partner, like you said, communication, huge key. If you are with somebody that you can't communicate to, that you do not want to have sex, that's a problem.
Right.
And that's a situation.
Remember how we just talked about how people get with partners because it's better than being alone? So many people are with people because it's better than being alone, even if they're not fully happy. You see all these damaged relationships. You see women who stay with men for so long. Like, you see all these things because one, they're told that's how they're supposed to be. You are told from the get-go that your goal in life is to find a man and procreate and have babies. There is not this, women are not praised for their autonomy. We are not praised for, you are told your whole life that you need another person to make you special and to value you rather than to appreciating yourself for who you are. So your whole life, Disney tells you that you're not happy until you get your man. I mean, give up your voice and your legs to have that man be interested in you. It doesn't matter that you're going to leave your whole life, your whole family, but that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to give up your sense of self. You exist to be there for your partner. That is what we are told, and that we are never going to find true happiness until you find that your other half. And that's our problem. And so you see all these women staying and doing things that they didn't want to do because they think that's their best possible outcome. We are belittled and told, we have an entire industry that makes money on telling us that we are not naturally pretty enough and that you need to buy this crap to make yourself better. Look at the beauty industry. And it is so much of it, it's all catered to women to pit us against each other for the pleasure of men looking at us. Not for ourselves. Don't get me wrong, I don't think that, like, makeup inherently is bad. I think that the way it's marketed and the way we try and make ourselves up to look good for other people, not ourselves, is the main issue. And that's the majority why people do it, is to try and to hide themselves and to make themselves the best that they can be, because we're told our whole lives that we're not good enough as we are.
I just had a conversation about this at work, because in the last couple of years, like Mark will tell you, I was like one of those women. I wouldn't leave the house without my eye makeup on. It didn't have to be foundation and all that, like eye makeup. I could be sick, dying. I'd had to put on my eye makeup before I left, because for some reason I thought that if I didn't, it didn't look good. I didn't look good. Like,
and I used to tell her all the time, why are you putting on makeup? Like, you're fine, just...
So I would say what? No, like, I just stopped. Like, I just don't care. Like, I go to work, no makeup. I go out, no makeup. I do wear makeup every once in a while when we go out, but it's usually just because I want to feel good. I want to look pretty. I want, like, it's for me more so, I can say even for him, because he actually prefers me in my glasses with no makeup, like, versus...
Can I ask how old you are?
Huh?
Can I ask how old you are?
Oh, I'm 35.
Okay, so I am too. So how long did it take you to get to that place?
34.
No, it wasn't 30. No, actually, no. I mean, it was probably like...
Like you just stopped wearing makeup to go to work. Like maybe like 6 months ago, maybe.
No, longer than that.
Really?
It's been like a good year and a half.
Oh, so yeah, 34, 33.
30, yeah, 33, 34.
So 33. Okay, so it took you well into your 30s until you loved yourself enough to leave that house without makeup.
Yeah.
How long? When did you start wearing it? What, 6th grade? I know that's when I started wearing eyeliner in 6th grade.
Actually, no. I was like a tomboy. I didn't start wearing makeup or girls' clothes until I got to like high school, and I felt like I could reinvent myself. I grew up with 5 boys. I wore big jeans and character T-shirts, like.
Which explains how you can hold your own and tell your partner what you want from yourself, because
And beat the crap out of me.
I was gonna say that, like, so it's funny because people are like, oh, you're so like on top of like certain things, and I was like, I didn't get it from a positive point stand though. I got it from watching my 5 brothers play girls. Like, it's so crazy and so ass backwards. It's not because they were treating women good. I watched how they treated these women, and I was like, I'm not gonna be that woman. I will never be that woman. And people are like, really? I'm like, yes. Like, I watch these dumb broads, or not. It's not even. I can't even, because honestly, I can't even call them dumb because they thought they were the only one.
Delusional.
Yeah, maybe it's the delusion, but like, because it.
No, but because we're told that we're supposed to do this thing, and that's what we want. So you're raised that like you're trying to find your Prince Charming. That's what we're told from literally 3 years old, when you can kind of figure out what a princess is. Your goal is to find your Prince Charming.
Get married.
So these girls are constantly searching, so they will put on these blinders because they want to be that one, because his appreciation.
I used to like tell them, and like I'd be like, listen, like when I was like 10, like, listen, he's not.
She does it now. It's absolutely amazing.
Oh my god. Yeah, no. When my brother got married, he married this woman. That's a whole nother whatever. But she got our last name tattooed across her chest, and it was the first time I met her. Right? Thank you. I'm sorry, people can't see your face, but the face she was making is amazing. So the first time she met me, she looked at me and she goes, I got your last name on my chest, and she like opens up her shirt and shows me. I was like, you let my brother brand you? You thought I was gonna think that was cute? Like, she was like, no, it's like respect and like blah blah. I'm like, no, that's stupid. Like, why would you do that? Why would you?
Essentially, the best word for it was actually like branding. Like
she branded herself with my last name. Like.
So you telling those girls though about what was going on and what was being said and what was done because they were cheating behind him. Can you imagine if when he started that relationship, he said, hey, I really like you. I think you're really cute. I'd like to hook up with you. Just know that I also think this other girl is cute too, so I'm
going to hook up with you.
Right. There would have been no shade. There would have been, and that's the thing, if she didn't want that, okay, cool. Sorry then, I won't hook up with you because if you don't find that okay, but I like having multiple partners. I don't want to settle down. You wouldn't have had any of the problems. There wouldn't be her feelings. She would have known up front, and she could have made the educated decision if she wanted to be with him or if she didn't want to. If that's not something she was capable of, she could have walked off and gone to somebody else who would. Clear communication. That's all that's needed.
True. I agree.
So we're at this point with the women are finally giving an opportunity to stand up, speak up, and say the things that a lot of other women before
the most hurtful things in their life.
Yeah.
And finally get listened to.
What's the next step?
Honestly, so much needs to happen, but it has to happen on a societal level, and it's the same thing with what's happening with us and trying to be Kaepernick taking a knee and trying to be heard and trying to be acknowledged. It all kind of revolves around the same thing. The American education system is shit. I'm just going to say it flat out. We teach to test for stuff that's not needed. We don't teach any societal information. We don't give much education to our children, and parents expect schools to do most of the educating. So it's a complete systematic breakdown. And then when your kids get out of school, they are not given the tools to function in a society, and they continue to perpetuate it. So it has to start from the ground level and be worked out.
I say this on the podcast a lot, but you brought up school. One of the things I was with the Boston Public School, which was garbage. You know what I mean? But my aunt went to Medco. Like, she speaks, I don't know if she still does, but she used to speak Spanish fluently. Like, she still understands it. It helps her get a job. She learned how to make her resume, or make a resume, before she was in high school. She knew how to do her taxes. She understood what taxes and savings and things like that was. She's always been a very independent woman. Thankfully, like, my grandmother was amazing, but a lot of it had to do with the way she was schooled. Like, you know, and again, I went to an urban school as opposed to Medco. For people who don't know, it's a predominantly white neighborhood, so you have to go out of the city to do that. But I bring that up to say that, like, I think a lot of this could also help if we were a community again. Because a lot of things that I learned from, as an adult, I learned from my wife. So some things I just didn't know. Like, I didn't understand I didn't appreciate saving. Like, you know what I mean? I didn't know what it meant to actually have people in my life. It was just like, it was just my group of people, and then that was it. I've said this before, like, I was extremely homophobic because of the way we're taught in the hood. Like, you know, calling a homosexual person the F word is acceptable. Saying something is so gay is acceptable. My little brother came out, when I learned my little brother was gay, before, like, I seen the signs, it was like, oh shit, I need to check myself. But, like, you know, it wasn't really until I started hanging out with you, again, a community of people, where you start having to, like, have these conversations with people to kind of get out of yourself.
Well, our schools, okay, perfect example for community. There are so many for-profit schools. I should want to say it was Norway, which is ridiculous because of everything that's going on with that situation in Trump. But
President Fuckface.
They got rid of homework, and every school is on the same level. So nobody moves to a different district because they know that they're going to get better schooling. Every school is on the same level. There are no private, like, charter schools. So rich kids have to go to school with poor kids. So when your best friend growing up with somebody that didn't have a lot of money, when you become this bigwig and CEO because you have better contacts because your father is rich, you're going to be a lot less likely to screw over that person that looks exactly like your best friend, right? Because you can relate to them on a personal level. When you continue to foster children in these protected environments and they only are around people that are like them, they're never learning these new experiences. They're never learning somebody else's experience. And everything, when we communicate and we get empathy for another person, it is through shared experience. And until you can have those face-to-face conversations, you don't have that, which is why we have so many internet trolls, because it's not a face-to-face. They
can hide behind an avatar.
They don't see the person. Exactly. So, sense of community, and we constantly have schools that are in underprivileged neighborhoods, and they say, we'll just, throw a bunch of people here. They are literally not given the same chance as somebody who could literally be a school district away, like a couple blocks away. Those kids are completely at a disadvantage, and until we can even the playing field and we can bring those things together, we're going to just continue this divide that we've got growing, and it's not going to get any better. It's got to start at an educational level. Like, it has to. Because you shouldn't have to realize your words were so hurtful to somebody that you love well into your 20s. Like, you shouldn't have known. It shouldn't have taken you needing a stranger to know that the words and things that you said because you thought they were normal probably had a very, very negative impact on a person that you love that's part of your family, and you didn't know any better.
Fair.
I thought you were gonna. I thought you had a comment.
No. I think it's fair. I think that I think the #MeToo movement is a great thing for women. I just, like Mark was saying, like, what next then? How do we empower women?
We get more women in powerful roles. We get stopped calling bitches for being a woman in power. I've worked my whole life in male-dominated industries, and I constantly get these incredibly sexist comments that people don't even think of as offhand. You read comics? You play video games? Yes, I have a vagina and I know what I'm talking about. Surprise! So until that isn't a shock, until somebody doesn't call me and ask, is the manager here? You're speaking to her. Oh, honey, I want to talk to somebody who wears pants. Until that's not a thing, it's not going to get better. And the only way for that to happen is to get more diversity, to get more women in the workplace, in the Senate, in the Judiciary Committee, in the White House. You need to have that diversity to be able to have that different background and bring those shared experiences to people who can look at you face to face. It is a lot harder to rob somebody of their basic human rights when you have to look them in the eye when you're doing it.
True.
Shit. Do you there was a comment that actually really disgusted me recently. Was on Twitter, which is Satan's playground, full of cowards, and I don't know if this is even a woman who said it because the avatar was weird, and it goes, "I'm okay with 2 innocent men getting raped if it means the women movement is pushed forward," and it brought me back to like the Black Lives Matter movement.
Because there is stuff like that too.
And
And
then
you're like,
and then it's like
the over the top.
Yeah, and like then you have like these radical. It's like when people talk about Muslim terrorists, and they're like all terrorists are Muslim, or when you have
except more of them are white, but
it's not #1 religion in the world. Like,
and it is.
Like, I love how people seem to think that it's just like popped out of nowhere, guys.
And it just kind of like, but like things like that, like if they worry me when you have a strong movement, because then you get these people in power who will plant people in to say things like that. Like Maria was talking about, there was like this Black Lives group who were like causing like destruction. Then come to find out,
it was an anarchist group. And they called them the Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. But anarchists are essentially hired to cause drama, problems, and cause bigger issues to kind of make movements mute. You know what I mean? So, like, they can prove...
Discredit them.
Yes. So if they can prove that, they were throwing bottles through a window...
So the whole movement is shit.
The whole movement shit. But really, that was happening 10 blocks away, and it had nothing to do with the Black Lives Matter rally. It was completely separate, but media made it like they were standing side by side.
Like, I have to check people all the time when someone says the Black Panther movement was violent. I go, no, they were not violent. I was like, yes, we got violent if we were pushed, but no, we were a wall.
To protect.
Exactly. So how do you what do you think is a good way to since we're speaking about the women's movement, what's a good way to protect like the image so this is something that can progress, that can get to the point where like these assaults don't happen at all, or even just at least the numbers lower?
Unfortunately, there's no real way to protect it because we are in an age where media can travel so fast and so broadly that any little spark could cause damage. So I don't think that it's a possibility to 100% protect. if you get time, there's a new book called The Power that I thought was fascinating. It's fiction, but I found it incredibly difficult to read at some points because the concept of the book is women find out, and like I said, it's fiction, okay? So women find out there are these things called skenes, and it's kind of like almost embedded in your collarbone. So you know how you have like your appendix, which really doesn't do anything, that we evolved to stop using them. And it's like in a like electric eel, we can create a electrical current, okay? And it completely, and it happens like real time in an age of YouTube and, you know, modern technology. What if women became the dominant species? What if women had this power to electrocute someone, okay? What would happen? And how would the dynamics change? And every single thing that happens in this book that women end up doing to men, because there is a point where these women totally brutally rape this man, and everything that happens that these women end up doing to some, and it's not all of them, but you know, there's always that extreme, has happened to women. Has happened and is currently happening to women now, right now. So as hard as it was to read this happening, I had to check myself and realize that everything that I'm reading has been done to women either in the past or is currently happening to women now. And I wonder if, even if we did have that that power, you know, if we did become this, if the roles flipped and we didn't have to be scared walking down the street because we had an inherent advantage over you like men have over women in their size and their strength, would we be better? Would our society actually be better? Or would we continue to make the same mistakes that men did because power actually corrupts? So it was a phenomenal book, and I highly suggest it, and it's brilliant. But I think that the main struggle is going to always and forever be equality, and just being seen as on the same playing field, from blacks trying to be equal, and not be treated as a slave force, and for gays to be seen as people and human beings, for transgender people to have rights, for just to try and be equal, I think is going to be the biggest struggle for us. And I don't know, as humans, if we're honestly capable of it, and it's really a sad thought.
Well, to say this on a positive note, I don't even think that it's our job to really even understand a lot of things. I tell people all the time, I don't understand transgender. I don't. But it's not my job.
I really wanted to talk to you about that for the longest time, because you always say that, and I just want to have so many conversations.
We can absolutely have this conversation, but for me, it's like my job isn't to understand. My job is to accept. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
but how do you accept without understanding it?
I accept that birds fly. I accept that sharks swim. I don't need to understand the science behind it. I don't even need to understand why. They're not hurting anybody, so why does it affect me at all?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's one thing if someone is doing this, if someone's dressing if some man is putting on a dress specifically to go into the women's room to be a creep, then fuck that guy. Like, you know what I mean? I don't need to accept that because yeah.
But I had this argument with a woman at my work about this, where she was like, now they're going to be able to come in the bathroom. And I was like,
they've been doing it forever.
They, like literally air quotations to heart, they have been doing it for a long time and you have no idea. I said, people are making it a big deal now because they want to cause a problem. Again, like now all of a sudden it's the big issue. Like no transgender person who just wants to be who they were meant to be is going into the bathroom to rape you. They're not interested in you. And just as much as a transgender woman could come into a bathroom, I could come in the bathroom and rape your ass. Like, stop. And she was like, well, I was like, but she was like, well, women, you know, it's scary.
Because they're just now even learning about it. Do you realize that indigenous people have a third gender, that there is full societies, I do believe it's in the Philippines, that have a third gender as well. Then there are, I mean, this isn't a new thing. This isn't something that's surprising. Mark, really, I know it sounds hilarious, but the Katie Couric documentary that she did would be the perfect thing for you to watch to break it down, because she actually goes into the science. There's I do believe it's in the third trimester, but I could be wrong. There's a point in when a baby is in utero where there is a testosterone and or estrogen jump, and depending on if you whatever your embryo actually is, depending on how much you get of each, is actually a biological result as to why your brain chemistry makes you think that you are male or female.
And this is what I was talking about.
This is an actual science. There's an actual science behind it, and I really think you should check it out, because I think it'd be really informative for you. But this isn't something new. This isn't just miraculously now happening. This has happened forever. It's just now that people are actually talking about it and coming out about it. That's all. And I think that's anything new that somebody hasn't experienced before, inherently we get scared of, and a lot of people react to that fear in anger and hostility, and that's where we get people like that being like, oh well, they're clearly here to. It's the psychology of, you find out somebody is gay and you automatically assume they're attracted to you and clearly they're gonna hit on you.
Not how it works. I never got. It was like I never understood that. It was like that's one of the things that has always befuddled me, and something always resonated with me from the '90s X-Men cartoon. People fear what they don't understand. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So the funny thing about it is, gay isn't new. It's been since the time of Greece, and I'm pretty sure there were indigenous people, like you just said. You said maybe in the Philippines, that have always it's been this way. And I would really like to know when this started and it became like taboo. It's probably religion. Religions tend to be the source of all evil. People say money. I believe religion is the source of all evil. Living in this box of like, what is this from Dogma? Do it or I'll fucking spank you. You know what I mean? So it's.
Did you see the Eddie Redmayne movie? The guy who plays Newt Scamander in the new Fantastic Beasts movie. He was in a movie, The Danish Girl, which documented one of the earliest, the first full surgeries, post-op, like full surgeries, male to female, and the woman passed away, but he does a wonderful job of telling her story, and how she's a painter, and her wife stood next to her the whole time and was with her through the whole journey. And when she died, even though she knew it was coming, she was just so grateful to feel like herself before she passed. So even though she was one of the first ones, but the surgeries that are now currently happening are because of her. So if you haven't seen the Danish Girl, you should check that out too. Because I keep giving you more things.
No, it's good for me to listen, like good for me to learn. Like I said, because I would like to be this thing, like to know these things, so I don't come off sounding ignorant. Mm-hmm. Right, so like it's good for anyone to actually listen to and know. You know what I mean? So, but this is something else we're doing that I think people on both sides can do. Like I've been told by people, you should just know this, and I'm like, I can't know these things if I don't ask questions. But on the flip side of that, you have people.
Wait. You have to say that again. You froze, so I didn't hear it. I'm sorry, but,
no, it was just like.
Say that again.
I've heard like people have said to me, like I'll ask questions, and it's kind of difficult for me to ask certain people questions. Like how often do I text you saying, "I hope this doesn't offend you, but I have a question," and someone will say to me, they're like, "You should just know this," and I'm like, but I don't know this, so how am I supposed to learn these things?
No, and honestly, I think that's the funniest thing is that people feel we're told that we're stupid if we don't know something, right? You're constantly like, you don't want to ask, like, how many times did you lie as a kid and say that you saw some movie or you knew a band because you didn't want your friends to know that you didn't know who that band was because you didn't want to seem stupid, right? Like, how many times did that happen when we were kids? I think not knowing something or when I am wrong is a good thing, because at the end of the day, it means I learned something. I always want to learn. I always want to know more. So not knowing something isn't a detriment. It's how you ask your question. The fact that you start your question with, hey, I hope this doesn't offend you, but it's a genuine question. No one is going to be upset with you for asking. It's how you come off about it. If you come off as callous and you're rude about it and you're just like, why do you look like that? Or why are you in a dress? Or if it's, hey, I'm just curious, are you a drag queen or are you trans? Like, are you, there's always a way to ask that question without it being offensive. Because if you're genuinely curious, that's fine. You can ask me what my ethnicity is. If you ask me what breed I am, that's when it's offensive.
Jesus Christ.
Well, I mean, no, I get that. That's like a true, like, I'm mixed, and people ask me all the time what I am. And half the time when I tell them that I'm Cape Verdean and white, they're like, what's a Cape Verdean? I don't even know what that is. For the most part, like, if you're not from, like, Fall River, Brockton, like, people don't know what I am. Even now, like, working in Boston, living in Boston, people are like, what's a Cape Verdean? I'm like, me, motherfucking me. Like, so I get that.
Ask you, right?
But if people ask me appropriately, I'll, like, have a conversation. I'm like, I'm a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, like.
Right, I don't mind talking about it. I have no problem. You ask me properly, and I will have every conversation with you. It is how you go about it. Because I have no problem letting you know. I understand being curious. I have children. I understand that they're curious, and I've made sure from a young age that when they want to know something, that they it's okay to ask, but it's how you ask that's important.
True.
Because they're going to see stuff their whole lives that they don't understand. That's their children. They're children. That's the whole point. Is that this whole experience is new to them. They're going to see somebody that's different, and they're going to want to know why. So it's okay. Let's go have that conversation. You can ask that person if they're okay, and if their leg hurts, and why they're limping, and all these different things. But you have to, if you ask it the right way, and you're genuine about it, and you really want to know, people will tell you. It's just it's how you go about it.
We're at actually overtime. We're at an hour and 5. If you had fun, we gotta do this again. Thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for bearing with the snafu of audio and whatnot, because on my end, I had a bunch of shenanigans. See what I did there? But thank you, Shenanigans, for coming on. You want to promote your plushies that I have actually purchased?
You can just go to Shananagin Creations. I make all sorts of fun, ridiculous things that are squishy and adorable.
Spell it out just for the people who didn't get it.
Shananagin Creations. I'm on Etsy and Instagram and Facebook.
And I'll make sure I drop the link for the for your stuff when I put the episode out. Before you go, can you say "Damn it, Wade" for me?
Damn it, Wade.
Ben, can you say it?
No.
Damn it, Wade!